The Rat King of the NHL just set a new record. In tonight's Florida Panthers victory against the Edmonton Oilers, Brad Marchand became the first player in NHL history to score 5 or more goals in a Stanley Cup with 2 different teams. And that stat is even crazier when you realize he's only ever played for 2 teams, and that up until the middle of this season, he had no intention of ever playing for a second team. The first team that he scored those goals with was the Boston Bruins, and that was in 2011 when they went on to win the Stanley Cup. And then tonight he did it again with his new team, the Florida Panthers, who are now 1 win away from winning the Stanley Cup. And even though they were in enemy territory, some of their fans still managed to travel with rats and throw them on the ice. And Marchie's teammates continued their victory tradition of hitting those rats at their Rat King. Personally, I have been rooting for the Florida Panthers in the Stanley Cup Finals because of Brad Marchand's trade drama. Brad Marchand was drafted in 2006 by the Boston Bruins and played with them every season of his career up until this year's NHL trade deadline. This season was the last year of Brad Marchand's 8-year, $49 million contract with the Boston Bruins, meaning that at the end of this year, he was entering free agency. And throughout negotiations, he and the Boston Bruins were not able to come to terms on what their new deal would look like. And so a player who believed he would spend his entire career with one team, a player who was not only the longest tenured player on that team at the time, but also the team captain, was traded right before the NHL trade deadline. In his first press conference after that trade with the Florida Panthers, he literally had tears in his eyes while he talked about the fact that he really appreciated everything he had gotten from Boston, and he understood that business was business and that everyone has a shelf life. Brad is only 5'9" and turned 37 this year, but as we watch these Stanley Cup playoffs, it is so clear that he still has gas in the tank and something to prove. Tonight, he scored not only 1, but 2 goals on the road, and the second goal was so beautiful that a fan in the crowd literally changed jerseys directly afterwards. But say what you want about Brad Marchand, whether you like him or you don't, there is something so wonderful about athletes that get a chance to prove that they are not too old to be the best at a sport. And there would be something so sick about watching him hoist that Stanley Cup above his head after being traded away from the team he wanted to end his career with because they believed he was nearing the end of his shelf life. And one of the other beautiful things to watch about Marchie these playoffs has been how much fun he is having and how much he is enjoying the ride again. You can see the joy in him on ice while he's playing, after the games as they're hitting fake rats at him, throughout these playoffs where he asked Dairy Queen for a lifetime supply of blizzards, after people started to believe that he was downing chocolate chip cookie dough blizzards in the locker room between periods, and listening to him talk post-game about how much he loves the guys he's playing with. Listening to him talk about soaking in the moment and really appreciating every moment that he has on the ice. So for me personally, in Game 6, I hope we get to watch the Rat King hoist that Stanley Cup above his head and see that stadium rain down fake rats on the ice. Because what else are sports about at their core than watching athletes prove that they can do more than you think should be humanly possible? If you're a Boston fan, were you sad to see Marchie leave? And if you didn't, are these Stanley Cup Finals changing your mind?